Hey guys, welcome back. So, I saw the new Spider-Man Homecoming movie, and this review is uncut, uncensored. It's podcast style, and most importantly, there will be spoilers. So, if you don't want to hear about any of the spoilers, just be warned. Hold on, let me drink some water. Okay, so, I've seen this movie twice already. How do I like it? I really enjoyed it. Um, well, then again, all the Marvel movies nowadays were enjoyably good. So there's not much. I just don't remember a Marvel movie where it just turns bad, even though some people complained about Iron Man 2 or Thor: The Dark World. Even these movies I had enjoyment. Well, out of these, I feel like Iron Man 2 was a little bit lackluster, but that's a story for another time. And apparently Sony it still have their rights. From what I heard, Sony is gonna get the box office revenue, which is something I'm afraid of because that means Sony has a bigger control on the movie. I really don't want to see another two Amazing Spider-Man movie because those movies, especially the Amazing Spider-Man 2, was shit. Um, Again, that is a topic for another time. In fact, I am planning to do a very short video on my opinion of how to change the Amazing Spider-Man 2. Actually, there were quite a few things that I think the Amazing Spider-Man 2 could have changed. Um, I'm glad this time they focus on the high school kids. When I see Tom Holland as Spider-Man, I was like, oh my god, this is the Spider-Man I wanted. I'm not a huge comic book fan, but something about Tom Holland's portrayal I just really like. He has this curiosity, those energy that you expect from a high school kid instead of Tobey Maguire being really, really moody, being really, really sad and kind of a wimp all the time, or the whatever Andrew Garfield is fucking creepy in the Amazing Spider-Man. Yeah, he is basically a fucking stalker. I don't know who is getting enjoyment out of this relationship. Twilight, 50 Shades of Grey. Yeah. So I like Tom Holland, and I really like how there's no a solid romantic relationship because this is something because you would not get the usual Denzel in distress like the first Batman movie or even Batman Begins or the any of the Spider-Man or what else even Ghost Rider is just coming up to my head. Um, Tom Holland was definitely the best part of the movie, and well, that shouldn't be surprising. Again, something else I need to mention though is his accent. Like, he has a really, really good American accent, even though he is hardcore British. I am surprised by how. Well, first time I saw him in Civil War, I didn't know he was British. I thought he was really some New York kids from Queens. For an actor such a young age with such a talent, especially in accent, um, I think the kid has a better future. And he was also in The Lost City Z, which in my opinion was in contention for Best Picture of the Year. One other thing he brought was a lot of emotions. Well, the other two Spider-Man has a lot of emotions, but he shows fear really, really good. There is one scene where there was concrete collapsing on him, and he was just screaming and patronized. He just couldn't get out. We all know he's eventually gonna get out, but like seeing that moment, like when he's being genuinely really, really scared, it kind of had an effect on me. Like he sounds like a kid getting into trouble, and then he's just really, really freaking the hell out. He doesn't know what to do. He panics, and I heard like some reviews saying like I hear some people say like Stan Lee reason for making a mask for Peter Parker is to Peter Parker to hide his fear against his enemies, and that shows throughout the film. Like he didn't show it, whenever he notice like whenever he faced the Vulture, he was never on top of the Vulture, not even once. He whenever there was a scene where Vulture was stealing from a truck, and then he said like, you shouldn't. I don't know what he said. He said something like, you shouldn't like steal stuff. And then when Vulture turns his head and look at him, his reaction was, "Oh God." I I liked it. Um, it's so different. It's a complete reversal of Batman or even Iron Man. Um, Speaking of the villain, Michael Keaton, I saw the second time when I saw the movie, I liked Michael Keaton even more, and he was in my contention of like top five best superhero villain ever. The things he does, his motivation, I clearly understand. I clearly understand. He's not like a really bad villain. I feel like the music kind of did him injustice. Although, when Vulture begins to fight, when he actually become the Vulture, and when he fights, the music cue was fucking fantastic. It reminded me a lot of like the Danny Elfman's Batman and Spider-Man. Huh? Come to think of it, he did both the Spider-Man and Batman, and Michael Keaton is there. Huh. Well, this is a really useless revelation, but yeah, uh, the music cue was really good for Vulture. I liked it, even though the whole music score is not as good as Danny Elfman's, but it's good enough. I like it better than the other Spider-Man music. It's really lively, and then like that Vulture theme, fuck, couldn't get it out of my head. Um, Anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah, back to the Vulture. Really liked him. He appears to be a blue collar kind of guy, and he doesn't want to kill. There's one thing he's accidentally killed his henchman, and there is a genuinely shock in his eyes, in his like face. I can tell he doesn't want to kill. He just wanna anti-gravitational. And throughout the movie, I know he's even if his henchman's a little bit over the top. Throughout the film, I have a feel like he really doesn't want to do any damage. In fact, he clearly told his people to stay under the radar. In the boats, like the whole part where the boats cut in half, the trailer was kind of misleading. And like he deliberately did it, but it was purely accident. He never wanted that to happen. Um, I don't think. I think in essence he's just a pissed off blue collar worker. I just don't feel like he. I don't feel like he has the intention. In fact, there was one scene. You know what? I'll talk about that scene a little bit later. Um, because there was something else I want to talk about. Before. I just want to go over the cast roster really quick. Aunt May, brilliant. I like her. She's actually really hot. She is kind of a reverse Benjamin Button for females. Like everyone sees her. Everyone really likes her. And you can see why. She approaches character. She doesn't like unlike the other two versions of Aunt May, she doesn't appear to be very vulnerable or just like a grandma. She is actually more approachable. Helps. She's really actively helping Peter with his homecoming dance. He even taught her like some of the the secrets, and she encourages Peter. And by the end of the movie, like I said, I'm gonna talk about. Like I said in the beginning of the video, there will be spoilers, so I'm gonna talk about spoiler. At the end of the movie, he saw Peter Parker as Spider-Man, and she was like, "What the fuck?" Uh, I really liked that part. I really liked it, and I'm really interested in seeing how this coming because throughout the movie, she already had her suspicion. Peter Parker is Spider-Man, and it's very curious to see how it's played out. I know she won, and there was hidden motivation on why Aunt May was so protective. I know it has something to do with Uncle Ben's death, but even though Uncle Ben was never mentioned, it's clearly like something that's so painful nobody want to talk about. And there were subtle hints at her when she was really upset with him. The rest of the characters were good too. I like Flash Thompson. I didn't know Flash Thompson was supposed to be white, but who gives a fuck? At least I don't. People complained about the Shocker and the Scorpion. Honestly, I didn't notice that, and it's not like it's nowhere near as bad as the Amazing Spider-Man 2, as like Paul Giamatti plays Rhino. Oh God, and the Sinister Six, Jesus Christ. It's nowhere near as bad as that. And I heard like in Amazing Spider-Man 2, there's even mention of Venom. Holy fuck, Sony. Um, I like how this has appeared in most of the Marvel movie. Like the references are so subtle, you don't even notice it. It's not distracting the main storyline. The only movie that has that problem was Age of Ultron. Even then, I feel like that movie was enjoyable, and it's nowhere near as bad as people say. It was the worst movie ever. Same with Batman v Superman. Like these two movies are flawed, but I found things to like them. If you say these two movies are the worst movie ever, clearly you have not seen Fantastic or Left Behind or the very original Fantastic Four movie, because those movies were shit. Um. Anyway, and there was a Michelle MJ. People get into the part where they suspect him to be Peter Parker's love interest way too much, but I really liked her. Like she has the quirky attitude, and she looks like somebody you could hang around. I don't know. Like I have no problem with her. I really liked her. Let's see. Flash Thompson. Oh, Ned. There was some speculation that Ned is gonna be some kind of hobgoblin or something. I didn't think it that deep. I just think he has a bro, and I really enjoyed him. He has a really funny line. The way he reacts to Spider-Man, I really like the part where in the gym, like they were listening to some girls were playing it was that game, I don't know, and then they found out Liz has a crush on Spider-Man, and then he just like Peter the Spider-Man. Oh, that was so fun. And then Peter was like, "We're not supposed to talk about it," and it's like, "Dude, we gotta get a date. You know, this is the only time we can get popular." I like that. I like that aspect. It's like if you know you're a superhero, don't you have the that desperate urge to let people know? If I know Batman one day, like if I know Batman, hell, if I met even Val Kilmer, I shook hands with Val Kilmer, and and if Val Kilmer become a secret agent, but I would definitely have the urge to go on and tell everyone, holy fuck, I shook hands with Batman forever. I definitely would have the urge to do that, and I really like these little moments. Ned, the only character I didn't wasn't that fond of was Liz, surprisingly. Throughout the film, if you pay attention, she rolled her eyes a lot, a lot, a lot. Um, she's the only problem I'm having trouble with. So, with everything, with these characters get out of the way, let me talk about the rest of the film. Music was good. I liked it. Like I said, it's nowhere near as good as Danny Elfman's music, but what do you expect? That movie, you cannot top it. I also really like I also really like what's that? Oh yeah, the editing of the movie coming just after seeing Baby Driver. I really appreciate some of the quiffy editing I am I feel like the editing there's a lot of very interesting cuts to the moments where d- w- I couldn't describe it. I don't have like it's not that fresh in my head, but I clearly can tell like some of the scenes where Spider-Man is traveling around. That's and there was a editing where Ferris they make fun of Ferris Bueller, and I really liked it. Um, the movie also, unlike the others action hero movie where there was a lot of cuts, there was actually to enhance the action. The actions was surprisingly very well shot, and CGI was pretty darn good, especially with Vulture. There was a scene like when he it was fighting Spider-Man on the airplane, and then he was cutting through the fucking airplane. I was like, holy shit, that was cool. I liked it. The only scene where I found a little bit shaky was when a vulture carries Spider-Man up in the air. And I gotta say, second time watching it, I feel like the CGI, I appreciate the CGI way better. Way better than the Amazing Spider-Man movies. Because one of the main complaints I have it was the Spider-Man looks like it looks like something from a video game, like a PS3 video game. I'm not even kidding. It was that bad. Especially the fight with Spider-Man versus Lizard. Oh God. Um, I there's one some of the like I said, some of the scenes were actually really well shot. That leads me to the scene I was going to talk about a couple minutes ago, where there were when Peter wanna get Liz to go to homecoming dance. He knocked on the door and there was like the fun music playing. I don't remember what soundtrack it is, and then it's going, and then when they found out it's Adrian Toome's Vulture opens the door, the music suddenly stops, and there was like 5 minutes of the film that is not has any music. The only music the sound was playing was the sound was that was playing in their kitchen, and I found that to be funny and intense, because that moment, the moments where Peter Parker saw, like, holy shit, Adrian Toome, what is he doing here? The guy I've been fighting at, what is he doing here? There's so many thoughts. I can tell there were so many thoughts racing in my mind, and the reaction on his face was so amazing. Some people, and then found out he's actually, oh, and he found out it's Liz's father, and the way Michael Keaton acted was so casual. You can that's where my sympathy with the vulture lies, because you can tell he's like a average family guy. He's a nice guy by essence. Like the things he does, the way he talks with his family, it's like, hey, that's the kind of people that I see every day. And you sympathize with, at this moment you kind of getting sympathized with him. It's just 1 or 2 minutes, but a good actor can make his character shine in just that few minutes. Especially a famous one was Judy Dench in Shakespeare in Love, or Anthony Hopkins in Silence of the Lamb. These two actors doesn't have much screen time in the movie. I think for Judy Dench it's like 6 minutes, and then Anthony Hopkins is like 12 minutes in the movie tops, but they shine so much. That's what a good actor does, and that's what Michael Keaton did. In that few minutes he was on the screen, he shows he shows what a good actor he is. I really like that scene, and then like his reaction to, you can tell his attitude towards Liz is shifting. I like the part where he just give up the rose to him, and he's not even looking at him. It's like that's so awkward. And then his mom taking pictures of him. Oh, those scenes were so great. But the best part was when he was driving there. Um, he's still very upset. And there was a, and then Liz showed him like, oh, isn't he cute? And he's like, yeah, it's great. And then his face it immediately turned pale. And the part where Adrian Toomes figure out Peter Parker's identity was brilliant. It was just it's really clever. It's not like where you know how in superhero movies where it's like, hey, can't you really tell that he's Superman? Like I mean, he's not even wearing disguise. Can't you tell he's Batman? That I saw Buffy's, and there were so many episodes where you can clearly I mean, for fuck's sake, there were vampire dying in that episode. There were people dying frequently, and people still doesn't realize vampire exist. I was like, huh, how dumb are these characters? And not in this movie, no. Um, he pieced together all the puzzles so quickly, and then like it's like, oh, so you're in a star internship. Oh, and you happen to be with my daughter on the day. Oh, and that night you suddenly disappeared. And then he just these puzzles clues he immediately picked it up. And the scene where he finally realized Spider-Man, and then they have a close up on his eyes. Holy fuck, that reminds me of like Bruce Wayne. Like that shot reminds me of Bruce Wayne, the way his eyebrows raised, and then there was a green light on his face. That shot was so perfect. And throughout the entire scene, there was no big music. It's just play silent. That shot was composed so good. And he found that he literally and most importantly he let Peter go, and he warned Peter like, I know you're Spider-Man, don't mess with him, and just show my daughter a good time. He said, and and then throughout the film he was like, this is my last job. And part of me was like, letting Peter, it was like, let him finish his job, like, he will quit for good. I began to sympathize with the Vulture, but Peter still like rushed away immediately, and then trying to stop him. At first, I didn't like that part because I feel like you already know everything, so you can just let him go. But then like second time watching it, I paid attention to the dialogue Adrian Toomes told Peter. Adrian Toomes was saying like, "You're young, you don't understand how the world works." And then Peter's reply was, I know stealing is wrong. How could you do that? And at this stage, I kind of realized, second time watching that scene, I kind of realized something. I realized Peter just don't know what the consequences of his action really is. But Adrian understood everything. But he also understand why Peter want to do the things he does. Because remember, in the beginning of the scene, he doesn't know who Spider-Man is, and he was like, I gotta kill him. I gotta kill him. And then his attitude changes. I can feel like it. He doesn't really want to like destroy Spider-Man. He punches him a lot, but he never delivered the fatal blow that he wants. Because I feel like part of him really don't want to kill him, because he realized he's just a kid like my daughter. Um, and I really like that aspect of the character, especially in post-credit scene where people were asking, we know who Peter, who we have heard a rumor, who Spider-Man is. Like, I want to slice his throat. He said, like, if I know who Spider-Man is, like, he will be dead. And I feel like there is the complexity of the characters. I mean, even like when, even when the even like during the part where Peter confronts with Vulture, he doesn't want to. I have a feeling he could have killed Peter on the spot, but I feel like he knows what Peter is capable of. So I feel like he's collapsing the roof onto him was trying to just keep him out of there. And the more I think about the Vulture, the more I like him. I think he's a really good villain, the best in the MCU at the very least. I'm really anticipating to what he does. So let me quickly get into negatives, and there's not a lot. I really like this movie, but there were two big negatives that I want to address. One, um, I didn't like I didn't like the fact like some of the fight doesn't have serious consequences. Body count in the movie was really low. I think somebody mentioned that. Chris Stockman's video, he mentioned it, and I kind of agree with that because in Spider-Man 1 and 2 there was a lot of brutal fights, especially with Spider-Man 1. That it has a lot of consequences. Here in this movie, Peter Parker, yes, Peter Parker's action has consequence, but not as bad as like in 1 and 2. The only consequence was Liz living, and then he realized he made his life a living hell for Liz. That was the only consequence, but other than that, I don't see much. Um, Second thing was the second problem I had was actually was Happy Hogan. Oh yeah, I have quickly mentioned Robert Downey Jr. I liked him. He was better than the film expect. But Happy Hogan, I feel like sometimes I like he's interesting, but sometimes I just feel like if he pay attention to what Peter Parker and Ned had to say, if he pay attention to this, if he has been a little bit more active, many of the problem would have been solved more quickly than you know. Um, and also, one of the what was this, the I had something in my mind. Uh, I yeah, those are the only negative I can think of at this stage. Um, I I really like this movie. It's not as good as 1 and 2, but then again, 1 and 2 are really hard to top. So I'm gonna give this movie 8 out of 10. And honestly, I don't see anything to bump it up. It's a good score. I really enjoyed this movie. So soon I'll have some thoughts on the Amazing Spider-Man on some original. So I'm maybe gonna make a video out of it. So just just look out for it. Um, so have you guys seen Spider-Man Homecoming? What do you think of it? Please leave a comment below, and if you like my video, please subscribe. Thank you so much. You guys are the best.